The big news politically is that Donald Trump has announced his abortion policy positions. SCNR.com reports Trump's abortion policy position draws criticism from conservatives and liberals. Former President Donald Trump Monday's announcement that he supports states' rights on abortion legislation has drawn criticism in equal measure from conservatives and liberals. Quote, "My view is now that we have abortion where everybody wanted it from a legal standpoint. The states will determine by vote or legislation or perhaps both. And whatever they decide must be the law of the land. In this case, the law of the state." The former president acknowledged that states will differ in regard to laws regulating abortion access. Quote, "Many will have a different number of weeks, or some will have more conservative laws than others, and that's what they will be. At the end of the day, this is all about the will of the people. You must follow your heart, or in many cases, your religion or your faith. Do what's right for your family and do what's right for yourself. Do what's right for your children. Do what's right for our country and vote. So important, vote." Trump also said he was strongly in favor of exceptions for rape, incest, and situations that could threaten the life of the mother. At the end of the day, it's all about the will of the people. That's where we are right now, and that's what we want. You know, what's really fascinating is we've talked on the show about whether or not there is a possibility that abortion could be a catalyst for civil conflict in this country the way slavery was, because both are a question of the rights of human life, whether or not they have full rights under the Constitution and sovereign independence, et cetera, et cetera. Of course, the left argues, well, I guess Democrats argue, as they did with slavery and once again with abortion, that the subjects of these arguments are not, in fact, deserving of full constitutional rights for whatever reason. Now, today, Democrats would say, oh, that's absurd. A zygote's not a human. A black person is. Therefore, it's not the same argument. I'm not arguing the same thing. I'm saying back then you had slavery and you had the Republican Party. Abraham Lincoln did not say abolish slavery. He said, leave it up to the states. The states that have slavery can keep it. The states that don't won't have it. However, he was opposed to the expansion of slavery in the new territories. We don't really have new territories right now. I mean, like, we have territories, but not really an issue. So Trump taking this compromise position is very much similar to what Lincoln did. So seeing that, I'm curious as to whether or not abortion could end up being a large catalyst for some kind of upheaval in this country if it does get to it, considering no one will, in my opinion, will accept the results of this election. And I think Democrats and Republicans, at least who are paying attention, probably agree. But I don't know. What do you guys think about Trump's position?
I think he followed what the Supreme Court said. And I think that, I think we need to do a better job of showing, explaining 15 weeks, explaining 25 weeks, explaining 30 weeks, telling stories about babies that have survived at early birth times, right? Early in the second trimester and third trimester. I think we just don't personalize the issue enough. So the fact that we're still having this argument tells me that we're not talking about this in a real enough way with people.
How would you personalize it?
You show the story of a child that was born prematurely and was able to grow and thrive in their lifetime. And you talk about that child's name. And I mean, I think we just need to show people, that a baby born at 29 weeks, what does that baby actually look like? I went and did a town hall for Nikki Haley up in New Hampshire. She talked about 15 weeks there. There was broad consensus, to be honest with you. Ron Johnson has been very clear in the position. I was with him in Milwaukee over the summer. He spoke about it with Republicans. I think it's an issue that the Supreme Court was clear as a state's issue. There are other issues that we need to handle at the states. And I just think we need to have better arguments at the state level in order to advance the positions that we want.
This has been the Republican position forever. With Roe v. Wade, all the Republicans were saying it should be up to the states to decide. Right. And now that we're there, Trump's saying, hey, we're here. You've got conservatives saying no.
It didn't feel radical.
Allie Beth Stuckey says, weak statement that is a signal for independents who will never vote for him anyway. IVF involves eugenics, the indefinite freezing of embryos and the mass discarding of embryos. Babies conceived via rape and incest are just as much babies as any other. Why do they deserve the death penalty for the circumstances of their conception? This simply isn't a pro-life statement. So I disagree. I think Trump made the smart political move, and I believe this will, I don't believe this will earn votes, but I believe it will protect some of the moderate votes that he already has. Meaning independent voters who are like, I'll probably vote for Trump, heard this and said, yeah, it's fine.
Are evangelical voters not going to vote for him because of this?
I don't
think
so.
They, of course, they're going to vote for him no matter what.
Yeah.
There's no way they're voting for Biden.
And they would rather it be regulated at the state level and federally. I mean, I think the thing is with
any pro-life position, if you believe life begins at conception, of course you don't want anybody to have an abortion, right? And you believe that any embryo created through IVF is legitimate and deserves a chance at life. But this is now the opportunity for the pro-life movement, in my opinion, to go campaign at the state level.
I think so,
right?
too.
If you believe this, now is your time to win hearts and minds, especially because the legislation is open to conversion. Anytime a state convenes their legislative session, if you're a pro-life person, you now have the chance to change the abortion laws to be closer to what you'd like them to be. When it was at the federal level, it was much more difficult, and you weren't really able to campaign in the personal way that you were talking about. It's much easier to campaign in your neighborhood than it would be to try and be like, everyone in the country pay attention to my position.
I think conservatives have two big issues here. And the first is that their argument has no logical consistency. The idea of states determining whether or not, if the conservative position is that babies are being murdered, the idea that they would say you can decide at the state level whether a person can be murdered seems to make no sense. The other issue is that conservatives being unwilling to argue their moral position means you will never win that moral position.
That's true.
So you've got all these conservatives saying, like, I believe right now it probably is the political decision, the right political move for Trump to say this. However, the problem is in the long term, the goal for Trump is we got to win the House. OK, he posted on Truth attacking Lindsey Graham, saying he's too absolutist on this one. He's going to hand the House to Democrats. We got to win the House. It's more than abortion. Abortion's not the only issue. And that's why I think politically it's the right move. However, on the issue strictly of abortion, conservatives have to literally argue. If you don't argue, then the only thing anyone hears is you're stripping women of their rights. Liberals are arguing ad nauseum. And Republicans are just bowing out and hiding. Okay, so then you have a guy who's no idea what's going on, and he sits down and someone goes, hey, did you hear they want to take women's rights away? And he goes, really? How? And they go, the banning abortion. He goes, huh. Then he looks over the Republican and says, what's really going on? And the guy goes, don't talk to me about it. And he goes, okay, I guess they were right the whole time.
Right.
Conservatives aren't making any moral arguments on this.
That's why I wish they would talk more about IVF, because they all immediately got scared and like, no, of course we don't want to ban IVF. I don't think you should ban IVF. But I think when you like IVF, there's a couple different ways to do it, but you create a batch of embryos and then the doctor will say these three of the 6 are the most viable, but we'll put all of them on ice and some of them don't survive being frozen. At any point, a conservative could say, okay, I believe that you have created 6 children and that you have a moral obligation to see all of these pregnancies through in some manner. Like it would be a more interesting conversation and you would be able to talk about your morality. But instead, they get worried that they're going to offend someone or be upset if they were to say life begins at conception and I think you have an obligation. They just immediately back off. They get scared.
Yeah, I think to that point, the only way out is through on all of these issues. And we're going to have those conversations.
You just have to. You have to talk about it.
Because I'm very neutral on this issue. I have been for a long time. I don't like it. I don't like killing in general. And I really don't like that. But, also time and a place for these kind of things. And in war, killing is okay, I guess. There's a time and a place for killing, I guess. But like, if you could neural net these babies in the womb, little 13-week, maybe like a 30-week or a 20-week child, and they're able to communicate somehow. And they say, please don't kill me. And you get that communication from one of these things.
Well,
these people, yeah, I would immediately get on the do not kill that thing.
Well, and to that point, there are different charities that will do ultrasounds for people and show them the baby before they abort the baby. And once you make that connection, I mean, I've been pregnant 5 times, had 4 children. Once the first time you see your baby on the ultrasound and you can see your baby moving, I mean, it's a totally different experience. And so I think to your point, you're right. I think we should be talking about the issue more and debating. And even the 15-week debate to me is a relevant debate to have.
Yeah.
What's that?
The idea that you would say, no, but you would ban abortions after 15 weeks. And I still, do I agree with it? No, but is it better than, going to the end of term? Yes. And I would think just even in the conversation about 15 weeks, I still think that we would have.
And 15 weeks is because of pain, right?
It's because of pain, yeah. And
the fetus can feel pain.
And so I just think that in this moment of time where we do have babies that are being aborted later in pregnancies, that we should be willing to at least have the conversation, talk about it in an honest manner with the ultimate goal of ending, abortion, because it is murder.
I think there is a strong historical precedent that abortion will be made completely illegal. I don't know exactly how serious violence could get around the issue. I think the current form of the conservative pro-life argument, I believe Ali Betzuki is correct on it's not a pro-life statement. It's morally inconsistent. I think this is another problem for Republicans in that You can't come out and say this is murdering a baby, but also we think states can choose whether they do that or not. It doesn't. And so the argument then for a moderate person is they can't possibly hold that position unless they're hypocrites. You can't say they're killing babies and then come out and be like, but you can decide if you want to keep doing that.
You can't claim it's murder and then say it's okay somewhere. And a lot of people are saying killing is never right. They'll say that. I saw that on Twitter a lot today, and I'm like, I'm just thinking about war. That when sanctioned killing is often the right way to go. Horribly in the history of humanity. That's what war is all about.
I think it's fair to say it's never right, but sometimes you're backed into a corner.
But sometimes you have to stop the enemy. Like World War II, we weren't backed into a corner. We just went over there and stopped the guy.
To that point, I don't think anyone's saying that it's right. That's why I think I disagree with you a little bit. I don't think that Trump, I don't think there was anything about what he said where he said it was okay. I think he said right now it's a state level issue. And any issue that we're dealing with something that's a state level issue, we need to engage fully and make the best argument.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.